What's up, everybody? This is Dominic, Syracuse. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wanted to start this video with a massive thank you to all of you who have liked, subscribed, and commented on the videos. We just wrapped our first season of the Dominus Manifesto, and we could not have done this without you. We're so excited for all the love and the positivity and the encouragement that we've gotten along the way, and we're super excited for what's to come. We're currently filming season 2 right now as we speak. Not literally, I guess right now we're speaking. I guess I'm speaking to you right now. Regardless, season 2 is coming soon, and there's going to be more laughter and more antics and more goofiness to come. But I wanted to take a little different tone with this video, because with everything that we're seeing in the world right now, it kind of felt a little inappropriate to be laughing. Not that we don't need laughter right now, and all of the time. I believe that laughter is the great unifier, because no matter who you are or where you come from, no matter the color of your skin, your ethnic background, your race, religion, color, creed, or socioeconomic status, we all laugh in the same language. So I promise more of the funny is coming in later videos. But with everything happening, I wanted to take this second to actually talk about what it is that I do when I'm not making YouTube videos. On top of being an actor and stand-up comedian, for the past 5 years, I have been using acting and improv techniques to teach behavioral therapy in maximum security prison. Moving them like this, move like this, move like this, all right? You know what that is? That's energy, all right? That's energy. When you look at the wall behind me, it's not hard to see that I am obsessed with the 1960s. I love everything about it, from the cultural revolutions that happened during that time, like the civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, the free love movement, to all of the music that came out of that tumultuous time. You look behind me, you'll see people like Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles. To me, these were absolute masters of their craft who used their art in a way to move the needle forward when it came to these cultural and political revolutions. And I've always wanted to do that with my art. I've always wanted to take my skills and expertise and use them to actually make a tangible difference in the world. So in 2015, I began using acting and improv as a way of teaching behavioral therapy in prison. Now, the way it started, I thought that I was going to be going into these places to teach them something. But what I soon found out was they were the ones who ended up teaching me lesson after lesson after lesson every single day. Really, you got something else inside of you. You got something else to offer. And because of that, I wanted to start a brand new segment on my channel called I Learned in Prison. I wanted to start the segment with the most important lesson I learned, which actually happened on my very first visit. See, the way it would work is me and a team of other actors would go into incarceration facilities, and we would start by just teaching the basics of acting and improv. And what I soon realized was these games that I had been playing since I was a little kid ended up being a lot more to these people who were incarcerated. You see, these people were stuck in an environment that constantly said, sit down, shut up, stay in line. And just being able to kind of move around or focus that energy in a positive way, instead of being told to just repress, we ended up seeing this explosive energy of positivity. And it was amazing. I fell in love with it immediately and decided that I was going to dedicate my life to doing this as much as I possibly could. Whatever it is you are here to fight, whether it's addiction, whether it's trauma. After we'd play these improv games to get people to open up, we'd then teach them the basics of playwriting and the importance of sharing their story. And as we did, we started to see very hardened people. I mean, people with tattoos on their face and who have experienced some of the most unbelievable trauma you could ever imagine, coming out of their hard exterior and. and opening up vulnerably to share themselves. And we ended up developing a show where each person would turn their life story into a one-person performance. And they would perform it in front of the entire cell block. So they would get up in front of all their fellow inmates, in front of the guards, in front of the teachers, and they would have the bravery to share their story. You got that light in you, and you're afraid for them to reject it. And when they did, something miraculous happened. As each person got up and shared, you would see tears streaming down their face. And as you can imagine, inside prison, that's not the place that you want to shed tears. That's not the place you want to show any kind of weakness, because they could view that as an opportunity to take advantage of that weakness. And admittedly, there were some people who were scared, very scared, to open up about the things that were bothering them or those hard times in life. So much so that there was a woman who said to me, I don't think I can do what you're asking, because you've got to understand, there are people out there that have tried to kill me. And if I let them see that I have any soft spots, it's just going to be worse. And so I told them that's fine. They don't have to do anything that they're not comfortable with. But they said, you know what? Nobody can tell my story the way that I can. And so they had the bravery to share it. As they did, I noticed it wasn't just the speakers who started crying. It wasn't just the fellow actors who started crying. It wasn't just me. All the other inmates started crying. And then I looked around and I saw the guards were crying. The sheriffs were crying. The warden was crying. And after that, one of the guards came up to me and said, you have no idea how hard you just made my job, because I have to keep these people in line. And it's easy to do that when you just look at them and say they're a criminal, or they're a bad guy, or they're a gang member, or whatever. It's easy to yell at them. It's easy to bust their skulls, as he put it. But he said, hearing their story and hearing what they've been through, these stories of tragedy, these stories of heartache, these stories of pain, he said, I don't just see them as criminals anymore. I see them as human beings. And that's going to make it impossible to bust skulls, so to speak. You see, in acting, we always warn against what's called a two-dimensional character. Two-dimensional character is just that, a character with no depth. We do this all the time. We say, that's just the bad guy. That's just the good guy. That's just the funny guy. What we really want to see is we want to see a character with a story. We want to see their complexities. We want to see their nuance. And that's exactly what that officer saw that day with the inmate. He saw a story. He saw a human being who's been through incredible trauma, and he couldn't say that if he would have walked a mile in their shoes, he wouldn't be in the exact same place right now. Unfortunately, that's what society's done. It's painted people as two-dimensional. Those are the bad guys. Those are the good guys. Those are the criminals, and these are the ones we should revere. When really, all human beings are completely three-dimensional. They're fully fleshed. They have passions. They have dreams. They have hopes. They have loved ones. And ultimately, they all want the same thing, which is to be loved for who they are. And it was in that moment that I realized my tagline, you might have heard me say 1,000,000 times, this machine kills fascists. This machine kills fascists. This machine kills fascists. I actually got that from another icon of the 1960s, Woody Guthrie. He was a folk musician who used his music to stick it to the man more viciously than anybody else. And on his guitar, he would write, this machine kills fascists. The definition of fascism is a society and government that uses force and violence to impose a single belief over everybody. Those who hold that belief are revered and protected, and those who don't are coerced and oppressed. Now, for me, in the jails, when I saw that officer crying, and then going up to the prisoner and completely breaking protocol and giving them a hug and letting them know that they've had similar experiences as well, I realized that it's this machine that never stops pumping, never stops doing its job for 90 years. It's this machine that actually kills fascism. Trust me when I say I'm not for killing anybody. I'm not advocating violence in any way. That's not what it means. It means that when you have love in your heart, and when you empathize with other people, and when you lead with compassion and understanding, it makes fascism impossible. See, if there is one thing that I do stand firmly against, it's fascism. But when you lead with love, when you lead with compassion, and when you have empathy for other people, fascism becomes impossible. And the only way that you can empathize with somebody is by hearing them out, by listening, by hearing their story. And that's exactly what I teach people to do in the jails every single day. Both have the courage to stand up and speak their truth and tell their story, and also having the respect to sit down and hear them out. That's what I encourage you to do. That's what I'm imploring myself to do. And while we do that, always remember